And now I really think that we are changing this. And Milei is doing also a very big important thing on the cultural battle, not only in Argentina, but I think he's an influencer on the ideas on Latin America and beyond.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 285. I'm talking to Agustín Etchebarne. He is in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He is the head of he's head of the Fundación Libertad y Progreso, the Foundation of Liberty and Progress. And this is a public policy organization in Buenos Aires. He's a Center for Public Policy Research. He also knows Javier Milei, and we're going to talk about what Javier Milei has accomplished in the last year. How are you, Agustín?
Very well, thank you. Very nice to meeting you, Chris.
Yes, I love talking about this topic because it's, as I've said, it's what can we learn from this? Because this is really phenomenal what has happened here.
It's amazing what is happening in Argentina because it's the first time in my life that we have a libertarian president in any country maybe, and this it happens in Argentina, and I think it's not by chance, but it's because we had an experience like 80 years of decay, and after 80 years of decay and Keynesianism and statism and interventionism, and like a huge state that it was working very, very bad with increasing poverty from 4% to 50%. It was a complete disaster for many decades, actually. And that's why I think the Argentinians at some point decided to make a huge change. And we really voted for this guy, which is President Milei. He's an economist. He has written like 20 books about economy, but he's not only an economist, but an Austrian economics, the Austrian School of Economics. And he's a very libertarian, and he has a lot of courage, and he's doing an impressive job. Really, from the very first month, he made an unprecedented fiscal adjustment. He decreased government expenditures very high, and from a 6% of fiscal deficit, he immediately to zero fiscal deficit, actually to fiscal surplus. And it maintained surplus for the whole year and decreased inflation from 211% to 30%. So he's doing a terrific job.
Yes, we've certainly seen a lot of progress. I mean, obviously Argentina is not completely out of the woods, but I mean, it was on the verge of becoming another Venezuela, and certainly it's been turned back from that. So how long have you known Javier Milei?
Actually, it was very hard the first 6 months, and the poverty climbed up to 57% the first quarter of last year. But then we saw like a V-shaped recovery, and that was possible to bring back poverty down to 33% or 35%, down from 57% out of the woods. The inflation came back to 33%, but it's still very, very high, and we still have a long run until we get the economy growing. The economy is growing at 5%, but it's still very below the levels of the economy of 2017, for instance.
Certainly it is. So how long have you known Milei?
Well, maybe for the last, I don't know, like 17 or 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, he was he always free markets, or did he come to that conclusion? I'm really curious about his political education. It sounds like he's just read so many books. I mean, I'd love to see what his library looks like. Looks like you got a pretty good library there too yourself.
Yeah. Well, actually, Javier Milei, he read a lot. He's been teaching economics for the last 20 years. I've been teaching economics for the last 30 years. So I'm a bit older than him. But we share pretty much the same views. both of us, we started like studying economics with Keynesian teachers. Like Keynesians in Argentina. I studied in the University of Buenos Aires. He studied in the University of Belgrano. But most of our teachers were from Keynesian origins or Keynesian thinking.
Yes.
But the problem is
Keynes,
that being a Keynesian in Argentina, that Keynes wrote in the 30s in the US when the prices were declining. You were in a very big recession, but without inflation. And in Argentina, it's completely ridiculous because we had like 53% of inflation on average, on the last 80 years. We learned all the models, the mathematical models, but we're completely ridiculous in Argentina because they were not mentioning what happened with inflation. Until, of course, at some point, we started to read about Milton Friedman and Phelps, and then all the Chicago schools teachers, and then the public choice school. And at some point, Milei got some books about the Austrian economics. And that was a complete game change. We have the president of Libertad y Progreso, we have an academic council. And the president of the academic council is Alberto Venegas.
Yes, Alberto Venegas Lynch, yes.
Wrote about, 38 books about economics and philosophy and history, and he understands perfectly well. His father, like in the 60s, he brought to Argentina Ludwig von Mises. And Ludwig von Mises gave like 6 speeches that you can buy the book about this that were amazing. And they started a small group of people in Argentina that were followers of Mises' ideas and Hayek. And so we are something very special, I believe, in Latin America. And we are recognized in many countries in Latin America because there is a school of Austrian economics in Argentina that is quite important for our region.
So anyway, so there's actually a school of Austrian economics developing in Argentina. That's good. I mean, also, Milei has a 28% or a 70% approval rating with voters under 30. So do you think we'll have another generation of Austrian economists come up out of this?
Well, probably. We already have some, and it's very interesting. It's not only that we have some teachers of economics. Now we have Austrian economics in the University of Buenos Aires, for instance, that for the last 20 years. We have some teachers that are not only in the University of Buenos Aires, but other universities in ESIADE and UCEMA that are teaching Hayek and Mises and Rothbard and many of these economists. And they write about economics also. And I think Milei, he understands quite well when he speaks about economics, he's talking about. And it's not only economics, but it's the philosophy behind economics. Because what we believe is really that each person, individually, we have the right to liberty and life. And that's the basis of everything. We are opposing the fiscal deficit and the increasing the debt of any country. Because you are getting the people of the following generations to pay our bills, and this is simply immoral. So we are really stand on a moral point of view. But of course, then the Austrian economics works because freedom works. And if you compare all the countries that have more freedom, economic freedoms, you will see that those are the countries that have the best indicators in every indicator. In the growth of the economy, in the decline of poverty, in the development of the flourishing of all the economy and the flourishing of human life in those countries. We have like many teachers in different universities that are teaching Austrian economics, but we also have like many young people that are spreading the ideas through the social media. And that's very interesting because sometimes they are very young. Sometimes they were like 15-year-old, 16, 17, 18. that they really understood that we were trying to make a cultural battle, a cultural change in Argentina. Because for many, many years, the people thought that the state was some kind of a god that could help you to resolve all your problems. But the poverty was still climbing. The people were still with very low income, and education was going down and not up. Even if the state was growing, even if we spent it more and more, and the government expenditures went up to 46% of GDP, actually the health system, the education system was getting poorer and poorer, worse and worse. And so they understood that something had to change. And when they received this group of people that had the ideas, that had the thinking, the philosophy of liberty, and then the economics, and then explain why we had inflation, and inflation is going down, and they realized that it's working, and it's working pretty fast, I would say, because in 1 year it went down from 211% to 30%, and in February we are expecting 2.3% this month. So it would be that we are, and probably this year we are going to finish with 24%. So in only 2 years it would go down from 211% to 24%, and the economy is growing, at about 5%, and probably the second half of the year is going to grow faster even. But as I was telling you, it's not an easy game, and it's not like a walk in the park. The people are suffering the many years of decay. The salaries are still low, and the poverty is still 33%.
Yeah, it's not going to get out of the woods immediately, but certainly progress is being made. So you said you've known Milei for about 20 years. Who are some of Milei's influences? I know Jesus Huerta de Soto and Alberto Venegas Lynch. I want to clarify.
You mean
there's actually two Alberto Venegas Lynches, right?
Yeah, but the son is already 80 years old, and the father of Alberto Venegas Lynch,
yes,
he's passed away. He passed away many years ago.
Okay.
And he has a grandson, which is Bertie Venegas Lynch.
Bertie, okay,
so three of them. Yeah. But when Milei is talking
and Bertie is in the Chamber of Deputies too, correct? Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And when Milei is talking about Alberto Venegas Lynch, he's talking about the son, which is nowadays about 80 years old.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool. So who are some of us? Does Milei have any other influences we may want to mention? Because he certainly talked about Huerta de Soto and Alberto Venegas Lynch. Anybody else?
Well, I think all the Austrian school, because he read all the books about Mises, Hayek, Rothbard, Karl Menger, and Israel Kirzner.
Yes.
You could talk about many people. Well, the Chicago School of Economics, he always speaks about Gary Becker, and probably James Heckman, that now is the Nobel Prize on human development and human capital. And I mean, all the Austrian school and the Chicago School of Economics.
Yeah, and of course he mentions Milton Friedman. I mean, every time I listen to a Milei speech, it seems like he mentions another economist. It's just amazes. I mean, this is a man who's definitely learned from a lot of different people. What can you tell me about some of the other people that have been in and out of? Do you know any of the other people who who are in the cabinet right now, like Caputo or Sturzenegger or?
Yes, of course. I know them. Federico Sturzenegger, I know him for many years. He's a scholar. He wrote many papers. He wrote a huge book about text on economics, about 600 pages or so, and he's making a terrific job. He's been working he worked for 3 years before entering office, reading all the laws in Argentina. And trying to see all the things that we have to get rid of, because we have so many rules, so many laws, so many different norms that we have to get rid of. And he's doing it. He already made like 900 reforms, but we still have to make another 3,500 reforms. And he's doing it every day, every single day he's working. We're working with them also. We have a legal team, and he's advising from outside the government. And we never accept money from the government, but we are trying to help. And I think he's doing a terrific job. Of course, we have to remember that Milei won the election, and he didn't have a majority in Congress. He has only 38 at the beginning. He had only 38 deputies out of 257 in the lower chamber. And in the upper chamber, lower than that, was 7 out of 72. But even with that difficult position, he managed to make a lot of reforms. For instance, we are trying to measure in Libertad y Progreso how many positions we climbed in last year in the Economic Freedom Index of Heritage Foundation. As you know, probably that you will see the changes in the next 2 to 3 years because you have laggard indexes. But we try to measure what already happened, and we think that we probably are going to go up like 61 places, only what we have done already in the first year. And but the thing is that Milei has the courage, and has the vision that he wants that Argentina is going to be the very first libertarian country in the world. So he wants to be that Argentina goes to the first place. So he will continue to make the reforms. And which is very interesting, and when you have economic surplus, then the time is playing in favor of you. When you have fiscal deficit, then your debt is growing. And when your debt is growing, then every year is more difficult for the economy. But it's exactly the opposite when you are decreasing the expenditures. And we continue to decrease government expenditures, and you continue to have a fiscal surplus, and then you can decrease taxes, and the economy starts to grow faster, and then you make more deregulations. So each year is going to be better. That's why I'm very optimistic about Argentina. I think that we are going to experience a 5% economic growth for the following, I don't know, a decade or 2 decades, because we have to go through the path of the catch-up that many other countries did when they adopted freedom. That it happened in Asia, it happened in Europe, it happened in Latin America, in Chile, when they did it in Chile, not anymore, but they did it for many years, for 30 years. And they made a catch-up, not at the level of the more developed countries, but they did it in Taiwan, in Singapore, they did it in Hong Kong, and many other places, even in Ireland, for instance, within Europe in the last 40 years.
Yes, it's definitely a lot of catching up to do. Yes. So what can you tell me about you? Do you also know Caputo? What can you tell me about Caputo?
Well, we met Caputo before Milei was president. He told us, because I worked also with Emilio Campo, that he was going to be the president of the central bank, to close the central bank. That was the idea, and to make the dollarization of the economy. But Milei told us that we have to meet Caputo and try to make an agreement with him and have one common plan, economic plan. But in the end, he decided to go with a plan of Caputo. And so Emilio Campo did not go to the central bank. But we are still supporting, and I think he's doing an impressive job. He's making a terrific job in the central bank. The central bank was completely destroyed in Argentina. And when you have economic surplus, then you can solve, as I was telling you, different problems. But the main problem in Argentina was the central bank. The central bank has, when they started the government, they had like the debt of the central bank was 3 times the monetary base. That is huge. and probably with an agreement of the IMF, we are going to resolve this remaining problem, and then he's going to liberate the exchange rate. This is something every libertarian would do, but they didn't do it in the beginning, and I believe that they are going to do it this year, so in the second year, instead of doing it in the first year.
Yes, who are some other people in the cabinet?
Yeah, it's very important, the Ministry of Security, which is Patricia Bullrich. Patricia, because, you know, in Argentina we had so many riots and so many problems with the people that were managing poverty, because the Peronists made this corporativism, no, very fascist way from the last, I don't know, years. And so we had to changes, but also you have to maintain the security in the streets. And so Patricia Bullrich is doing that, and she's doing also are very important. Then you have the Human Capital Ministry, which is Sandra Petovero, and she still has a lot, because they did a pretty job in the economic terms, but we still need to make many reforms. And when you're talking about human capital, we are talking about the brains of the child, and we know that we have to improve this. We have to make decrease in malnutrition. The first 5 years are very important for the brains of the kids, and we have to make a lot of things. But we also have to make a huge reform in the education, and we need to still have another huge reform on the health system. Argentina needs to have many reforms. We still have to make a huge reform on taxes. We have to decrease taxes. We still have like 150 different taxes. They started to eliminate taxes, but very recently they eliminated last December as a crazy tax that was about 17% on all imports, and it's above the tariffs. It's a tax plus the usual tariffs. So we still have high tariffs, like 12.5%, but there was a special tax above it of about 17.5%. But they eliminated it by the end of last year. And now they are decreasing also some export duties, stupid tax. You cannot tax your exports. But in Argentina, we taxed our exports. And so we are changing this also. And so there are so many things that we have to do. But I think we are on the right direction for the first time in the last, I don't know, maybe 80 years, with the exception of President Menem, that for 4 years in his first government, the second government was not very good, but the first government of President Menem, he did a pretty good job with the convertibility law. I don't know if you know about it, but that was only for 4 years. The last 80 years in Argentina was a complete decay and with a complete disastrous policies, on economic policies, education policies, because 100 years ago, Argentina was a great country. Argentina was one of the richest countries in the world, but we also have one of the best education systems in the world, comparing with France and Spain and the US and so on. But then we made a disaster for many, many years.
Yes, there was a disaster for many years. Do you have anything to say about Diana Mondino and why she's no longer in the cabinet?
Well, Diana Mondino was part of our Fundación Libertad y Progreso, no? So it was part of she was in our academic council, so I know her very well. She's very, very good, an extremely capable woman and an extremely wonderful woman. But I think Milei, he tried to make, Sun Tzu, the way that Sun Tzu tried to manage his armies. And I think Milei is doing pretty much the same. When somebody is doing something a bit different what he tries to do, then he prefers to get rid of them. And I'm not trying to justify it, but I think that's the way that he's managed the government, because in a way he had little power, because that's why I was trying to explain, that he has not power in Congress. And he managed to do many things because of his ways. So maybe we don't like his ways, but he has a lot of courage. He has a lot of good ideas. He knows, sometimes in a crazy way.
Sometimes it is in a crazy way, yes.
And this year we are going to have elections, and we're rebounding with this V-shaped recovery, and with salaries that are going up. I think he's going to win the elections, and afterwards, probably maybe he's not going to have the majority in the lower chamber, but he's going to be very near the majority, and so with some allies, he will to make new laws, and he will be much more in place, I would say, and we will see. But this is what we have. That is with very, very courageous, with a lot of economic thinking. I think he's really brilliant, and but of course, he's what you see. No, he's not different as you can see. You can see that he has this type of character, but maybe you need this type of character to make really huge changes in Argentina right now.
Yes, you certainly do. Is there anybody in the legislature that you think is worth acknowledging? You know what I mean? Bertie Benegas Lynch. I also see Amelia Orozco. Some
José Luis Espert. He's an economist.
José Luis Espert.
He ran for president a few years ago, but he got only, I don't know, 2 years. But he's very good. He's also a teacher in economics in the University of SEMA, and I also know him for many years. And he's extremely well educated in economics, and he's part of probably one of his main brains in Congress right now. Also, Martin Menem, he's doing a pretty good job there in Congress. And then you have the Guillermo Francos, who is the chief of cabinet, and he's doing a very good job he's like the bad cap, the bad cap maybe is Javier Milei, and he's the cap. He's the one he's making arrangements in Congress, he's making arrangements in the Senate, he's making arrangements with the governors and other people. So in this way, Argentina is working, and we can see an improvement in the laws. We are seeing that now we have a new member of the Supreme, Manuel García Mansilla. He's also, I would say, a classical liberal, and that's something very new in Argentina, because we have 2 guys in the Supreme Court out of 4 that are classical liberals, Rosenkranz and now Manuel García Mansilla. The rest are also always Peronists. And then he's going to the other guy that he's trying to get is somebody that we don't like. That is this judge. It's called Lijo, and we hope that he's not going to pass. But I don't know. We don't know that yet. But I think we are managing to make in very specific ways. But what we say is what he's doing in the economy side, and it's really impressive. He made what is called the Ley Bases and the 70 decree, that there was a major deregulation effort. He was eliminating lots of bureaucratic obstacles, providing legal certainties with more positive impacts in many sectors, a huge market deregulation. For instance, we got a new law, a new rental law, because completely crazy. For instance, we got like 211% of inflation, and you couldn't make an increase only once a year. So it was impossible to rent. And after the elimination of the rent controls, the resulting was an increase of 170% in rental property listings, on the websites, and a 40% drop in real rent prices. So they are doing an impressive thing. For instance, you get the state-owned companies, which are quite a few, like more than 40 companies. For the first time in many decades, they are becoming profitable. For instance, Aerolíneas Argentinas, which is our main airline, that is state-owned, for the first is profitable. They were losing 400 million on average. They lost about 7,000, and now in the very first year, they got a surplus, or profitable. They became profitable in only 1 year. That's amazing. So there's certain things that are happening in Argentina that are really, I think, impressive. No, like jumping 61% in that we hope that is going to happen in the economic fronts in the freedom index. Then we got another law that is very important, and we call it RIGE. It is the law that regulates big investments, and they are decreasing taxes. They are making better improvements for the legal stance for these companies, and we are going to reach. We already have like 11 major projects that are being approved in dollars, and but many things are going to happen. For instance, in Vaca Muerta, is the oil business is growing very fast, and it will continue to grow. But we also have mining. Mining in Argentina was terrible for the last 70 years. We share, the same mountain range and mineral resources with Chile. But yet, Chile exports like 50 billion in minerals, while Argentina lags behind with only 4 billion, and for many years, more than 4 billion. And so, for instance, if you take copper, we have like 3 big projects. Each of it is 1 billion, and we are going to be exporting copper with a fee is going to be similar of what we have done with Vaca Muerta, famous Argentine camp, which is impressive. We know our experts on soya beans and so. And so we are going to have I think we are going to experience a huge progress in the next 10 years. It's going to be a different Argentina.
That's great to hear.
Yet we still have a lot of. We still need many things. For instance,
how much power do the provincial governors have? I mean, how much taxes does the average Argentine pay to the provincial government or even a local government? Lowering taxes at the national level is great, but people still have to pay taxes elsewhere.
Exactly, and that's a huge problem. The provinces and the municipalities, the local governments. This is a huge problem because now the federal government is increasing taxes, but many others are increasing taxes. So it's terrible. But I think that we have that's why the importance on elections, because this time in this election, particularly in October, the main issue should be how to lower taxes, to decrease government expenditures and to lower taxes. And we are, I think the government and we and many other people, we are going to be focusing on who are the guys that are raising taxes and who are the guys that are helping the people decreasing taxes and decreasing expenditures. And I think that is going to be very important. But then we have other challenges that are very important. For instance, we still need a full labor market liberalization, increase employment, and to reduce informality. The ground economy, the people that are working in the underground economy, is huge. Tomorrow President is going to make his speech to the inaugural speech for the Congress for the second year, and he's going to explain, I think he's going to speak about 30 new reforms that we have to pass in the following years. We have to lift capital controls. We have to privatize many companies. We have to close down some companies. For instance, we have a mining company of coal that is completely terrible that is called Rio Turbio. And Rio Turbio, the revenues of Rio Turbio covers about less than 5% of the costs. So it's ridiculous. It's impossible. You cannot privatize this company. You have to close it down. And there are many things that we have to do. We have to still make huge reforms on the financial sector. And then we will still have to make huge reforms on the judicial and political reforms. But we are in the right path. And that's the important thing. We are already seeing the comeback of the economy on this V-shaped recovery. And we are seeing that inflation is going down. It will take more than a decade, more than 10 years, to get the economy in a pretty good shape, because we are coming from very, very low point. You know?
Yes. So, well, yes. So, lowering to, I mean, you're pretty optimistic. It sounds like to me, though, Milei is also making people think about what government should and shouldn't do, and that he's actually changing people's minds about how the government should operate, that the government should just be in the business of letting the free market work. How do you think that's working out? Because it sounds like he's really engaging in a philosophical re-education of the country.
I think so. I agree. And I think it started before Milei. Probably started like 20 years ago. And with Alberto Venegas, the people that we were talking, many people that were economists that were on TV every week. I've been on TV every week for the last, 20 years or 15 or 17 years. But many others like Kachanowski, and then we had even Ricardo Lopez Murphy, who ran for president in 2003, and he was a Chicago school economist. And so we had like a bunch of 20 teachers and economists that goes on TV. And we have, as I told you, like many young people that are in the social media. They are spreading the ideas. They have been doing this for the last 17 or 20 years. But of course, Milei had something new. What he got is that not only the ideas, but the passion. And the passion and the rage against what these guys of the Peronists were doing, because we have an incredible country. Argentina is a very big country with not very high population. We are 47 million people. We have minerals, we have oil, we have the farms in Argentina are incredibly productive. So we have almost everything. And also we have the people that had a very good education until 20 years ago. And so it was a rich country. And the Peronists and the interventionists and this increase in the intervention of the state, they destroyed the economy and destroyed the culture. And now I really think that we are changing this. And Milei is doing also a very big important thing on the cultural battle, not only in Argentina, but I think he's an influencer on the ideas on Latin America and beyond.
Yeah, this is what I think is very important, Agustin. It seems like to me, most people in South America know who Milei is, and even people in Mexico know who he is. I mean, all over the Spanish-speaking world. I mean, he doesn't speak English, which would get him a lot of speaking engagements, but still, and goodness knows, South America needs to hear this message. And of course, he's also very popular with the Venezuelan immigrants around Argentina.
Not only South America. Yeah, of course. The Venezuelan immigrants, they suffer a lot. They suffer socialism. And socialism is terrible. But I think the ideas of liberty are not only important in Latin America, they are also important in Europe. Europe, they made for many years they were making something really great. The European Union with free trade among 30 countries, with zero tariffs, with the people that could travel around 30 different countries without even showing your passport. It was impressive. It was the spreading of freedom in a whole continent. It was impressive. But now Europe, for 4 decades, they made an impressive job. The growth was incredible. They were very, very poor in the 50s, and now they are very, very rich. But at the same time, the ideas, they forgot why they got these riches, no? And that happened in Argentina exactly the same. That's why when President Milei goes to Europe and they say, "I'm coming from the future," he's not talking nonsense. He's trying to explain that what is happening now in Argentina, in Europe, but it happened in Argentina 80 years ago. And it was awful because the state started to grow. Now it's already very big state but in some countries it's above 10%, sometimes 50%. And when you have the state growing as 50% of the GDP, then liberties goes down immediately. They go down because your taxes are so high that you cannot live. And then you start to have lots of problems. Europe was growing very fast in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. And so I think the ideas of Milei are very important for, not the ideas of Milei, of course. They are the ideas of liberty. They are the ideas of Adam Smith, of John Locke, no? of all the Thomas Sowell. And we are trying to spread the message of all these guys. And I mean, this is not something that is the idea of one guy, but is the spirit of liberty.
Yes, indeed. I also anybody else who's worth mentioning. I mean, I know there's the guy who ran for Ramiro Mata, who ran for mayor of Buenos Aires, and anybody else who's doing a lot of good work down there, promoting the La Libertad Avanza.
Yes, even people that are not very in very good relationship with Milei, but they are still doing an impressive job, like Gabriel Zanotti, who is a philosopher in the university. He's doing an immense job. Or Ivan Carrino, he's on TV. He's also he's a teacher on the University of Buenos Aires. Adrián Javier, another teacher in La Pampa. There are many people that many economists that are from the libertarian Austrian school, and they are doing an impressive job. And then they are. I told you these influencers in the social media, like Mate con Mote, De Peroncho, Tipito Enojado. O sea, these guys are terrific. Because they are explaining things in a very simple ways, and then they spread the ideas of Milei, the ideas of Friedman, the ideas of Thomas Sowell, the ideas of Ayn Rand, and Eduardo Martí, another guy that is impressive. He made a huge work with kids at the school level with junior achievement. It was impressive. 1 million kids were on his classes and with his teachers and explaining Ayn Rand ideas. So there are really many people that are working. It's not only one man show, but of course, Milei is very special because he's an impressive guy with impressive courage and a vision and the courage to get the vision done. No, he's working. He's doing the job, and it's a very difficult job. And he's in the political arena. Well, he thinks that the political arena is horrible everywhere, but he's there because he thinks that he has to make his job, and then he wants to go back and go back to studying economics and writing about economics because his passion is to write and think about economics.
Yes, that's a great passion. Since you've known Milei for 20 years, how do you know Karina? How long, and if so, how long have you known Karina? What can you tell us about Karina Milei?
Well, I don't know. I don't know her very much. I met her only a few times, But really, because I know Milei as an economist, so and she's not an economist, so she was not part of our WhatsApp group and our meetings. But I think that she's also very impressive. She's also she has a lot of courage, and he's doing an important job together with Milei. But of course, the character is completely different. I think Milei is a very special. He's what he knows. Another guy that is important is Manuel Adorni.
Miguel Adorni?
Is Manuel Adorni.
Adorni, yes, yeah. What can you tell us about Adorni? His press person.
He is his press person. He's also an economist, and he's been in radio and TV talk shows for many years. And he's also an economist, and he knows very much about all these ideas also, and he's very shrewd in the way that he explains the ideas, and he also has not only the wisdom but the humor, and that is very important, and very different from Milei in that sense. He's more similar sometimes to, I don't know, like Ronald Reagan. He has this special humor that was amazing. So I think Manuel Adorni is also another important guy in the government, because he explains things that sometimes Milei says it very quickly, or sometimes in a very difficult way, and he has to explain again. And he's doing also an impressive job every day explaining things with the media.
Yes. Well, you said you only had about an hour. I did want to ask you, what can you tell me about the social fabric of the country right now? Because I mean, America is largely becoming a country where people are not getting married, people are not having kids. And it's one reason why I'm very interested in Argentina and South America, because it seems like to me this is a place where family is still valued. What can you say about that?
Well, the answer is not so. I think in the provinces is different from the city of Buenos Aires. In the city of Buenos Aires, you see the birth rate is also declining very fast. In the rest of the country, is still growing, but we still the birth rate in Argentina is about 1.7, so it's below the 2.1 that you need to replace the people, no? But we have a lot of immigration from Venezuela, from Paraguay, from Bolivia, so the country is growing, but not because we have a lot of kids. No, we are pretty much an European country in that sense. It's more similar than, for instance, it's more like Spain, I would say, or some southern countries of Europe, like Italy. But still, there is this struggle. We experienced for many years this idea that was coming from abroad, that this wokeism, it was very, very heavy for the last 20 years in Argentina, but it was like, financed by these sort of foundations and the governments and the IBD and the World Bank, and all these ideas were in place in Argentina also. But now Milei is also giving this battle, not only Milei, and there's other people that are working on this. For instance, Agustín Laje, which is a sociologist, and for instance, another Chilean philosopher or sociologist, this Axel Kaiser, that they explain very well what is happening in this ground, is the Marxisms in the social system, but in the ideas of the people, in the ideas about marriage, about the feminism. For instance, all these movements that were in the beginning liberal good movements in the libertarian sense that were very important and very, I would say, very good for society, defending the ideas of the minorities, of the gays and everything. But when socialists got these ideas, they changed it completely because they introduced the hate, the resentment, the ideas of putting some people against the others, the women against males. So it's something terrible. In Argentina also. So I think we are also giving this battle in Argentina. And the importance of the family and the ideas of Thomas Sowell, and he explains perfectly well what happens when the government interferes and the government gives you a lot of social plans and gives you this welfare state. But with all this welfare state, what he has seen it in his communities, then you have these families with only one parent, mostly a woman, but then it's not working very well. And what happened with the kids and what happened with the social emotions of these kids and the neurological emotions, no? How you, we are also working on these fields because everything is I think family is very important for the society.
Yes, it definitely is, Agustin. And also I think, I hope maybe, we can change the colleges down there. It's because that seems to be a problem everywhere you go. Do you have anything else to say before we go? It's been great having you on here.
Well, thank you, Chris. No, I think I only would say that I think Argentina has to get all this way into being a developed country. And it's going to be very important, not only for Argentina, but for Latin America and maybe for the world. So I think that it's very important that the people that are looking to Argentina sometimes to support Argentina, because we need some support. For instance, with the IMF, it's incredible because we are probably the best, we are making the best moves about the fiscal approach, how we are decreasing expenditures, but still they are taking a lot of time to make a new agreement. And so in the ways that some of the people that could listen to us, it's important also that they see Argentina, and also because it's a very important place if you are looking about investments. I really think that Argentina is going to be one of the best places for investment for the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, that could be. And, maybe Elon Musk will build a factory down there. And as I've said, maybe Argentina will, be the home of it. Maybe somebody will start a new car company and South America will have its very own car company. Well, where can we find you out there on the internet, Agustin? I found you on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I am on Instagram mainly. Also on TikTok. Sometimes I give some speeches there. And we also have a YouTube channel that it's called Libertad y Progreso, which is freedom and progress. And every time that we go on TV and so on, we put all the talk shows, we put the videos there. And we also make a lot of videos about the economy, the history, philosophy, and many other things. So it's interesting but it's mainly in Spanish, I would say. That's the problem.
I don't know about the Spanish-speaking podcasters, but I will say I don't think anybody's given Milei more coverage in English than I have. But and some of the people, Sturzenegger speaks excellent Spanish. I think Caputo speaks good Spanish. I've been telling people who organize conferences in America, said, you probably won't be able to get Milei, but you get Sturzenegger or somebody like that, because they might not be as busy. Because obviously, to come to do a conference in America, you're looking at taking 3 days off. Anyway, so please like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out my Substack, go buy my novel, Escape from the Village. People are giving me money at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you, Agustín Etchebarne. I'm Chris Baker.
Thank you,
did have some
difficulties
here. Yeah, we had some difficulties, which is why we took the video out. I'm Chris Baker, and we're out. Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.